I wasn't gonna stream, and then I was like, well, I'm horsing around in Kerbal anyway. What the hell not? Right, because this is the why I end up sometimes getting burned out on Kerbal, is I stream it and then I get an idea in my head and I can't get it out, and so I start playing Kerbal even outside of the stream. It's like,
damn it, man.
all right, welcome back everybody for an impromptu episode 6. As I was saying, I did have no intention of streaming today, but I'm horsing around in Kerbal anyway, so
why not?
So how you doing this evening, Onka? All right, so without further ado, let's jump in, as I am working on a new bird. All right, as I picked up a couple of contracts, one of which is to fly up to the mountains and get some science from the mountains. And I was looking at our other helicopter, and I'm like, man, I don't know if it can fly that far and back without running out of fuel. And I ran some missions last night off stream just to make some money and end up making a little bit of science as well. So I went ahead and unlocked, was it advanced aviation, I think? No, subsonic flight. I unlocked subsonic flight. That's what it was. Which had these engines in it. These engine nacelles, these intakes, this engine, plus a couple of other things. Right, so I was like, well, let's make a S97 Raider-esque helicopters. Let's see if it's possible. It is possible, but I still need to do some fine-tuning, as it's really not, it's got a narrow performance envelope, right? Meaning, as long as you're with, you know, dialed in, it flies beautifully. You get it outside of that, and it's ugly. It gets real ugly real quick. Centurion, what's up, man? Centurion, yes. Problem is I end up thinking of something, and I'm like, oh, let me see about doing that. And then this shit happens. And I really like the way that came out. And the reason the landing gear retracted is they'll bounce all over the goddamn place if I leave it. I have to pull them out once we're on the runway. All right, but I want to get the other light set up and do some test flying, as I added the just added the science experiments, the science grabber, and yeah, this, and I had to add like 4 extra reaction wheels. I don't know if it's because of the deal with the rotor or what, but the rotor in combination with this engine, or in any engine back here, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't think the game likes it very much. Long day doing some admin tasks. Centurion, were you lucky enough? Are you lucky enough to have a 4-day weekend this weekend, or? All right, let's get to test flying. And I started out trying to make like kind of like a mini Chinook type of thing, and I could not get it to balance. With the way the cockpit is so high, or the mass of the cockpit is so high, I couldn't get it to balance with fuel burn off between the two rotors. Right, the center mass as it burned fuel would shift dramatically forward. And unless I added just straight up ballast tanks, right, or just straight up ballast, I wasn't gonna be able to do it. And the heaviest thing I have are like monoprop tanks. Alright, I'm gonna try lowering the RPM on this, as I end up having some weird things happening once we get up to like really, you know, fairly high speed. Right, I've had this thing up to almost 300 knots. Oh, it's gonna take me more throttle to get it off the ground then. Oh, it won't even lift off. At 751, wow. It is kind of heavy. Ah, you were tired, okay. Don't need that. So this right now is basically neutral. It's not having, there's no actual throttle applied to it yet. As this isn't very fast outside of it, but it's easy to fly like that. All right, and let's bring this up to 50%. And the speed comes up fairly slow on this. I don't know if that's on purpose or what. All right, let's go to 75%. And once we start accelerating, this thing really kicks in. See? It starts doing that. And then suddenly the pitch control goes from maxed out up to almost maxed out down. There's like a sweet spot I have to find. And then once you're in that sweet spot, like I think we just got it, you can go 4x fizz warp in a helicopter. Pancake. Yep, gotta roll it in flour and find a sweet spot. NGB, what's up, man? Yeah, but I don't have cow controllers unlocked yet. So, manual it is. And I have no idea really how far this thing can actually fly. Centurion, there's an option on these where you can separate it out to have an independent throttle. So I have it turned on. So that way this throttle here is basically my collective. It's only tied to the rotor. Right, and then the engine throttle, the pusher engine throttle is tied to this. But I also have it bound to an action group. So I can actually reverse it to like slam on the brakes. All right, we're cruising along at about 200, just, you know, almost 220 knots. Some research on making cloth textures, fixed a bug in Blue Shift, and now you're just chilling. Nice. Oh, big thank you to Jada Mar. Jada fixed the missing textures. Apparently, I guess in one of the 1.12 updates, it changed the path to a texture that Airplane Plus was pointing at. Alright, so now this part... Oops, that's not good. What happened? Now, the Delta V time frame I can't really use with this, because that's only bound to this engine. It doesn't see the rotors. And I had to really give these rear wings. You know, I had to give them a 10-degree angle of incidence, which is pretty high. Right, and it's to keep the nose from going down at higher speeds. And you can see the drag that the rotor provides. And then when I was looking at images of the actual the S97 Raider, it's got a huge tailplane, and so I'm guessing it's probably for the same reason. Captain Nathan, what's going on, man? How you doing? Yeah, I needed a little bit of a break from Kerbal there for a while, but yep, Kerbal is still kicking, and the mod authors are still kicking it, because look at this sky, man. Captain, yeah, I don't know if you've seen Shadow Zone's little mini documentary he did on the KSP2 development, but it was never going to work. Like, from the very beginning, it was never bound to work. Yeah, this is Airplane Plus and a little bit of tweak scale. So at the moment, I'm trying to figure out exactly, you know, what is our range, more or less, with this thing. I thought you were done modding KSP MGB. Oh, if everybody knew, if anybody doesn't know who MGB 125 is, forum user Angel 125. Right, so he's the, you know, Buffalo, Blue Shift, and several other mods. Barris, EVA Repairs, and Sunkworks, and I'm sure I know there's more that I'm missing. And yeah, stable enough to fly in 4x Fizz Warp. Well, when I get the flight profile, the rotor and engine setting just right. And we're coming up on half of our fuel usage. Once we have our fuel usage, I'll have a better idea what the range is. It's a lot further than I would have thought, because our other helicopter can't fly this far. Like, not even close. Captain Nathan, dude, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that, buddy. I mean, you just dropped in, man. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we went through half. So it looks like round trip distance is about 300 kilometers. Right, so it's got about 150 kilometer operational range. That's probably further than we'll ever actually really need to fly it, but it's good to know that we have it. And we still have room to actually add more fuel if we wanted to. It's a balancing thing is the issue. Thank you, Captain Nathan. Alright, so in simulation, so I wanted to know roughly how far we could go. But once again, Captain Nate, dude, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Alright, so the fuel tank is this one. We have a Mark 1 Junior, which holds 200 liquid fuel. And then right above it, I have a Mark 0 liquid fuel tank, which holds 50. Right, and then these have residual. I rescaled these from 1.25 meter to 0.625 meters. So these only have 18.8 fuel each. So I think we have a total of what? Yeah, 288, 287 fuel. But we could lift a little bit more mass. All right, so these are not fuel tanks. These are just structural fuselages that I rescaled. Right, as I have to be very careful with this balance. And that's part of why in here, the thrust limiter, even though I could do this, the thrust limiter, I have to have it because otherwise it'll throw this off. And I know it's slightly behind. It has to be just slightly behind because as this tank drains, it does go slightly forward. Actually, I should move it. Shit. Why did I have it? There's a reason I did it this way. Alright, now I gotta run another test because I don't remember why I had it slightly behind when I know this is gonna move forward. Typically speaking, you want to keep this in direct alignment, but I know that this is going to move slightly because the cockpit's quite heavy. All right, the cockpit weighs, 0.8 tons. It's the heaviest part on here minus the fuel tank. But as the fuel tank gets emptied, this becomes the heaviest part. And I'm pretty sure the reason I had that back is it had something to do with how once I actually start pulling this engine, or pushing with this engine. And, well, that's the other reason too. That's why. Alright, so depending on the number of Kerbals, because Kerbals have mass. That's why I was sitting that way. Because when you go full Monty on Kerbals, shifts just a little bit. Alright, so let's load it up with 4 Kerbals. And see what we get. Captain Nathan, this would work on, because it's not electric, it does need air. It would work on lathe as well, but that's it. Alright, and then the trick would be, how do you get this to lathe? Right, because it's not like you can fold the rotors up. Thanks, Galen. What's going on, man? How you been? I still haven't. I want your IVAs. Galen, thank you so much, man, for that resub, buddy. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna try 80%. 100% doesn't work. Like, it causes all kinds of problems. Alright, I'm gonna have to move those lights. I realize they're behind the door. Wow, those Kerbals weigh a lot. We'd normally be airborne already. He's not happy. Who is that? Bob. Bob is not happy. Yeah, see, we gotta find that sweet spot. I'm looking at the pitch torque over here. Well, Summer Rose, welcome back. I was Army. My brother was a Marine. But yes, happy birthday to anybody that hit the beaches with the Marines. Yeah, I was Army. My little brother did the Marines, and my older sister did the Air Force. My other older brother tried to do the Navy, but he showed up to MEPS after smoking a couple of joints. All right, let's bump that up to 100% throttle. All right, there's 200 knots. Make a difference if I close these? Yeah, I didn't think so. So ideally, I'd like to get it to where we have as little angle of attack as we can. I wonder if I should need to decrease these, because the angle of incidence on the tail wing here is pretty big. Let's try that. Let's do that. Little Summer, you did 250 pull-ups today? Are you practicing for a competition or something? Oh, for the 250. Okay, that makes sense. Sometimes the, you know, the old brain pan takes a moment to kick in. All right, I'm gonna move these up here. All right, remove from symmetry and make that one green. That way they're not behind the door. Oh, I still need, well, I'm thinking about it. Only a magnetometer boom. All right, let's try with the decreased angle of incidence on the tailplane. Now, when I was going through airborne school, they have pull-up bars outside, because being able to do pull-ups is a big thing when you're jumping out of airplanes. You had to do at least, you had to do 10 pull-ups before every meal. Right, so they have pull-ups like outside the chow hall. Well, you know what? I'm gonna set it to 100%. Let's go for broke. see, now it's bottoming him out the other direction. Well, there's 230 knots. That's our fastest speed so far. And Jimmy, in order to be able to control the chute when you're jumping out of an airplane, you have to be able to pull what's called a slip, right? Unless you're jumping one of the newer chutes, it's like steerable. But most of the parachutes that you jump with for Army parachuting are not steerable, right? So, but you can get it to go left, right, forwards, or backwards by reaching up as high as you can and pulling down the risers, right? So you're spilling air out of one side of the chute, right, or the other. Say, for example, you're in a 10-knot crosswind, right, and you're drifting to the left, right? You'd reach up to the right as high as you can and pull the risers down into your chest to spill air out the left side, which stops the movement. Problem is, you have to be able to lift up your entire body weight with gear, right? And in order to be able to pull the chute down, means it's the same as pulling your body up, fully loaded with gear. Galen, yeah, I was looking it up earlier, and I was like, wow, we're like, I didn't try to get on the money. It's just that that's the way the, like, the physics work. It does not like going to 100%. I gotta get back under control here. I need our speed to come down. Right, I need the aerodynamic forces to lighten a little bit. That's not what I wanted you to do, but all right. I forgot doing that. I had to reset atmospheric autopilot, which uses the P key. So I'm gonna have to be mindful of that. I may have to remap it. Or make one of these command seats, add a fan to the back of the command seat. Right, as a separate model, but, and then you can do it like an ultralight. Or just a fan back, I know what you're going, I see what you're going with, okay, yeah, or just like a fan backpack. Kind of figuring out what the limits here are. They call it the OnlyFans. No, I don't know why we keep wanting to go side to side. I gotta see what our altitude limit is. I mean, the whole idea is to fly this up into the mountains, so... Come on, roll back. Man, starting to think I need more reaction wheels. I mean, 5 isn't enough? At lower speeds, this thing is rock solid. It's not until you start going fast enough that the aerodynamics start kicking in that it starts to not like it so much. All right, and we're still traveling at 150 knots. So we're not climbing anymore. All right, I'm gonna kill that. Yep. Ouch. Yep, that's all bad. That's all bad. Come on, pull up. Nope. Glad we're doing some simulated flights here. Instant mod report. Yeah, probably. All right, so it's only at the limits that it really starts getting upset. I dislike so many reaction wheels, but you can't really, you don't have like an actual like collective and cyclic for VTOL aircraft, right? So you have to cheese the shit out of it. Okay, so we have, let's save this real fast and back out, because I've done a few things since yesterday's episode. Let's go through it all, not just building that helicopter. Nerdface, what's up, man? Thanks, Nerdface. Okay, so I went ahead and I made some money, and I went ahead and upgraded Mission Control to Tier 3, just to have unlimited contracts. Right, I also upgraded the astronaut complex to level 2. And then I upgraded the admin building to level 2. And I ditched to Boldly Go 1, and we went to Boldly Go 2. I haven't decided what the next one is that I want to go with yet. Right, and this is courtesy of Strategia, which basically takes with the stock strategy little mini game there and adds a more to it. Right, R&D has also been leveled up to level 2, and I went around to every single, not every single biome around the KSA, almost every single biome. I need to go hit the top of the VAB. Do you know the top of the VAB is a different biome? Did anybody not know that? A lot of these buildings, especially once you get to level 3, several of these buildings have additional biomes that pop up around them. Right, like the spaceplane hangar, these fuel tanks over here, that ends up becoming another biome, I believe, at level 3. And like the roof of this is the vehicle assembly building is not the same biome as the vehicle assembly building. Yeah, this is KSC Extended, along with Jade of Mars harbor that is borrowed from JNSQ. So Jade took his harbor that he made for JNSQ, for the KSC for JNSQ, and made it a standalone mod. That goes along with KSC Extended. Right, and I ran some other contracts. I actually, I flew to the South Pole. Also, these are almost done, I think. Yes, here is our altimetry map. Each satellite dish? I actually did not know that. Interesting. Alright, so this is 76.3% done. It did complete the contract, because for the contract you only need to get to 75%. But it's going to continue to map It just needs more time to finish up. And then our visual map, low resolution visual, is what, 97.9% done? So the little gray hash marks and the gray line here is what has not yet been mapped. And then our biome map is going to look the exact same. Right, but with this, you can actually add a waypoint to whatever biome you want to fly to that you haven't been to yet. Right, so like, for example, I wanted to come down here to the tundra biome, and so I just made a waypoint down here, and then just flew down there. But
That was a long flight.
Alright, but we got I got quite a decent amount of science. I flew over the ice caps and the southern ice shelf, but I did not land on them, as the terrain did not look inviting. Terrain throughout all of it is a little bit different. But anyway, later on we'll unlock another one that'll give us high resolution imagery, and this becomes a lot more detailed, especially the visual map. Alright, so those are the two satellites that we put up yesterday. And then, as I said, I flew around and got a lot more science, and I unlocked subsonic flight and wings 4. Right, and yesterday we had grabbed gizmos and advanced rocketry. The problem is, like, subsonic flight, we got the larger, like, cockpits, like the larger 2.5 meter cockpits. You know, like the C-130-esque cockpit. Problem is, its landing gear is way over here. Galen, ChatGPT. I gave it like all the leading chairs and a budget, you know, and based on like review, you know, short-term reviews and versus long-term reviews, and based on you know how long I sit in a chair, because I've gone through 4 chairs since 2016 streaming, because you don't realize it. If you spend a lot of time in a chair, it goes it breaks down pretty quickly. Right, and there are several like 5-year reviews of the Secret Lab Evo. Right, and the chairs look like they were bought yesterday. Now, if you if you have a higher budget, your options change dramatically, right? But decent chairs, they get
Stupid.
and I mean stupid. The other reason is warranty, right? So at Secret Lab, you get a 5-year warranty. Technically, it's 3-year warranty, and then all you have to do is do a social media post about the damn thing, and they give you an extra 2 years, right? So technically, it's a 5-year warranty. So this chair that I'm sitting in now, I bought last October, and this thing broke in August, right? I'm gonna flip it around so you can kind of see here, right? This is not supposed to do this, and it goes all over the place. I can't lean back in this chair anymore. I have to straddle it like a stool, because and it's not like I can reinforce it. The actual seat pan is broken right down the middle this way. right? So this is just all over the place, and it sits crooked. I mean, you can see, it sitting off to one side. So I can't lean back. And this is a $400 chair. Just FYI. I spent $400 on this chair last October. Right, and it's an actual, like, office chair, not like a gaming chair. You know, but I don't really think, I mean... Gaming chair, office chair, meh. I mean, some people read too much into that shit, but... And I just happened to notice that, today, watching EJ stream, EJ has the chair that I want. But, yeah, I've gone through more chairs than I have keyboards. Right, and if you want a decent office chair, well, you have two options, right? Well, there's a couple of options, right? You can find, I tried to find to see if there's any businesses closing, because a lot of times they'll auction off, right, or sell a lot of office furniture all at once. Problem is, they don't, at least the ones I saw here on here, they're not selling a chair, right? They're selling like 200 of them at once. And I don't, you know, and I don't have the money or the need for 200 chairs. The hell am I going to do with the other 199? Right, obviously resell them, but man, I don't want a chair business. Right, plus, as I said, I don't have enough money to be able to buy 200 chairs. NGB, well, it turns, well, I don't know which model of Secret Lab he has. I think it's because it's hard to see on stream, but it's because it's black. But it's the secret. It's the same manufacturer at least. And I'm assuming it's the same one. He said a viewer bought it and sent it to him. But yeah, ChatGPT said the next one up is the Herman Miller something, but that's like $1,800, dude. Like on sale, it's $1,800. And everything else is over $2,000. Yeah, it's, well, it's this. Right, they have the Nano Gen. I guess it has like a different type of material that they use for the covering of it, but this is $1,000 chair. Otherwise, it's the same as this one. And you can also buy these on Amazon. Problem is, Amazon, you get Amazon's warranty, which is 45 days. Right, you get their 45-day return policy. Right, the only way to get their Secret Labs warranty, the 5-year warranty, is to buy it directly from them. Plus, they sell the chair for cheaper than Amazon does. Amazon charges more, like a lot more. Galen, yeah, when I was really start talking about like needing a new chair, everybody's like, yeah, get a Herman Miller. But yeah, that's $2,000, dude. I mean, technically, this chair is $500, but once you add in tax and shipping, it's $700. That's the only thing I don't like is, yeah, there's no free shipping with this. Like a lot of the other ones have like free shipping, but none of the others have like a very good, like after 3 years, they're basically toast. And I had a decent chair before. If you remember, I spent $500 and bought a Vertigear like several years ago. And that shit the frame completely broke within a year. And I had to have basically the seat pan of the chair and the back of the chair, basically the two parts you sit in, replaced, right, under warranty. And then, because it only had a 2-year warranty, right? And then 2 months after the warranty ended, those broke too. Like the metal frame inside the chair broke. And I'm not that flippin' heavy, man. Yeah, Galen, you can always try to find a used one, but then you don't know it's Providence. right? You don't know what kind of abuse it's been, right? You know, how many times the owner sat in it naked. Yeah, again, as I said, I just had ChatGPT do a comparison and look for, you know, all the different reviews and more specific, but weighted more towards the long-term reviews. You know, like the 3-5 year. Like, there's a lot of people, there's several videos, YouTube videos I saw that are at 5 years, you know, and they're from larger streamers that spend a lot of time in their chair. Again, it boils down to how much time does your ass spend in the chair. Right, most chairs are only designed for somebody to sit in it for 2 to 4 hours at a time. Right, and if you're streaming, you're gonna sit in it for a lot longer than that. Anyway, we kind of got lost on chairs, so let's go and take a look at our mission. I want to find that mission. Yeah, I took a whole shit ton of missions. Yeah, analyze the surface at Kerbin's Mountains and Kerbin's Tundra. Right, so for the Tundra, we're actually going to make a faster flying aircraft. It might be just barely supersonic, because we still don't have supersonic flight unlocked. Like, that's like the next tier up. However, we now have the Weasley engine, so we can finagle a couple things with the Weasley. But we're going to take our new helicopter here, and we're going to fly up to the mountains to do half of this contract. Right, rad.
We wait for science.
Yeah, and this chair has never actually been all that comfortable. Right, and a lot of the other quote-unquote gaming chairs, they have like built-in, you know, massagers or heating or fans for cooling. I don't want any of that shit. The more little bullshit it has like that, the more likely that that shit's gonna break, and you're just paying for junk. And to be for this, didn't actually test it. I didn't actually try a jet engine out the back. I guess we should. All right, let's make a Bravo variant. Right, I went with a turboprop instead. And these aren't fuel tanks either, just FYI. These are tweak scaled structural fuselages. I really needed to keep the center mass in one location. Oh, I know why. The other issue, I would need a separate throttle. The only way I can get a jet engine to operate off a separate, or no, oh, the independent. There it goes. Ah, okay. Let's try it. And once we unlock other parts, I want to do a bigger version of this. Galen, it does, but some of them you need to have the cow controller unlocked in order to be able to make use of them. For some of them, and some of them, some mods don't see the extra accesses. Right, it all depends on how, when the mod, the parameters of the mod. Right, so this was the inspiration. Right, the kind of idea. Right, so this is the S-97 Raider, which was Sikorsky's entry into the Army's program to replace the Blackhawk. And for whatever reason, they chose to go with the Bell airplane, the Bell tilt rotor airplane. Problem is, its wingspan is with the rotors is so massive. As somebody, when I was in the Army, I mean, probably a few hundred hours flying in Blackhawks and landing in very restricted spaces, the areas, where you're like, damn, is the rotor the rotor gonna hit that shit? It seemed weird to me that they chose the Bell. But I think the Bell was slightly faster and more fuel efficient, mostly because, well, you have wings. Once you go fast enough for the wings to kick in, you're gonna wind over a rotor almost any day. But this still exceeded, I think, the parameters. And then they had another one that they were developing called the XB-1 Defiant, which was a whole system, right? It's like a modular helicopter system. Oh, and SB-1 Defiant, not XB. SB-1 Defiant. And give me a better image. Right, which is a much larger helicopter, right? But this would have been like 3 to 4 different actual chassis that are kind of like interchangeable, right? There would be like an attack helicopter version. It would be a lot smaller, but it would still have the twin engine configuration, for more power. Right, but it's basically kind of like a modular helicopter, and this is much bigger than a Blackhawk. Right, if I remember correctly, they pitched it as a few different ones. Right, but all built off of the same platform, so they share a whole bunch of parts, and a lot of it, like big parts of it, like the whole engine thing could come off, and you can replace the engines in it. The engine housing basically comes off, and it's interchangeable between the different types of helicopters. It's a pretty cool idea, but the military never went for it. Yeah, this is the big brother to the Defiant, yes. No, the Defiant is the big brother. The Raider is the much smaller version. Right, but instead the Army decided to go with the Bell tilt rotor. Right, and they took lessons from the Osprey, to not rotate the engines, just it's mechanically, engineering wise, it's easier just to rotate the rotor itself and not the actual whole engine. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Bell 208, I think is what it's called, the Valor, is pretty cool, but it's the space, how much room it takes to be able to land. All right, let's see how this works with a jet engine. It's not as cool looking. you know what I forgot to do? I did not check where the center lift, center thrust is. Right, I am certain this has a different mass. Okay, that weighs a quarter ton. I think that's part of the issue. These we need to weigh more. To be honest, this needs to weigh more. A quarter ton jet engine.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Versus that little Kitty Hawk, which weighs, you know, 0.15 tons. So this weighs 0.1 tons more. Our center of lift, our center of mass moves less, so that's a good thing. All right, let's roll. Galen, yeah, I had a discussion back in the day with Squad about that, and if you remember, they actually released some concept art models of actually doing that. But a lot of people got really upset because they wanted to be able to have just attach the engine nozzle, or they had vehicles they'd already made with like engine nozzles, right, facing in wrong directions or whatever else it is. So Squad walked it back, but they were going to redesign these to be the full, like a whole engine, like the nacelle. In fact, I think that's how we got this like engine nacelle type, right? Where because originally that was going to be the whole thing. You still have to do an air intake or something, right, as a separate part. But you would actually need, something for the engine, or it fit in the structural fuselage, right? But they were actually going to have the whole turbine section of the jet engines. I would have preferred it. All right. Let's get this set up here. Oh, sensitive. Very sensitive. Wow. Again, I think if you use the mod Advanced Jet Engine, I think it actually includes like the full thing. The only issue with Advanced Jet Engine is that you no longer can use jet engines for water propulsion, which basically means unless somebody makes a mod for it's like water propulsive engines, you're kind of screwed. And you're forced, if you're going to use Advanced Jet Engine, you have to use Ferrum Aerospace. Again, I'm not sure. But Advanced Jet Engine adds in a whole bunch of different engine types. Right, and they have different like performance curves. I liked it. I like it. I've even done it with the plane. You remember the plane, the one that can fly backwards and sideways? The only problem is when you flip, you know, the 180 with advanced jet engine installed, it flames out the engines instantly. So you only get one backwards flip. Or one backwards flight, because it flames out the engines. Alright, so I haven't engaged the jet engine yet. I wanted to see how we're flying here. Alright, let's hit it.
Is it doing anything?
I'll say that this thing is a lot more stable with the jet engine than it is with the turboprop. MG, I do not yet. Yeah, this thing is only putting out 18.3 kilonewtons of thrust because we can't go. We need more speed to get more air. Right, the turboprop is more efficient at lower speeds. We need more speed to get this thing, because this is as good as it's gonna get. I will say though, this is a lot more stable with that than it is with the get a little more speed helicopter wise, maybe. Nope, because now we have too much drag, because we have too much angle of attack. Yeah, the jet engine one, it's we can't go fast enough to get it really going. How much is it supposed to make? Yeah, stationary at 20 kilonewtons. That is all we got up to 18. Yeah, wow. It's just not enough engine. And if I skilled, where's the Weasley? Unlock the Weasley and scale it. $21 kilonewtons. Yeah, when you scale it down, it's only 21 kilonewtons. All right, so the Kitty turboprop engine is a purpose-built one, you know, our 0.625 meter part. I mean, we're hitting, you know, 230 knots with this thing, so I can't complain too much. That is really smoking fast for a helicopter. Like, really smoking fast. All right, let's go up to the mountains. All right, Val's gonna fly, and Bob is gonna be the flight scientist. We need a full suite of science and from the mountains. The only thing we haven't done, it really is an altitude test with this. But MJ, yeah, if you didn't hear me, I do not yet have a decal mask, an updated one for the KSC extended yet. And the only place it matters, at least at stock scale, is this over here. Absmore, what's up, buddy? Yeah, that's, well, that would be the thing. Like, if it was an actual like rotor, the rotors for Airplane Plus work more, and the props work more like the jet engines do. Right, these don't actually generate lift; they generate thrust. Right, as an example. But you probably already know that. Yeah, dude, if you're at 1/4 real scale, you're not only that, you're gonna have to move things around too. If you notice, some things probably aren't aligned. Like the taxiways are probably off back over here somewhere. All right, off to the mountains. Let's give ourselves a waypoint here. Wait for this to update. Right, and now we can go back over here. Yep, Jebediah's conviction. It's 50, exactly, I picked it's 50 kilometers out. Alright, we're go for engine start. Alright, let's put the tail rotor at 50%. And let's see how this thing climbs. Oh, don't be doing that. And yesterday I did a couple of local survey contracts driving the rover, and I came back up over this hill, and that hill overlooking the KSC is so I was like, dude, that's awesome. Galen, yeah, problem is gonna change the mass. I'll change a few things, but I might have to play with it a little bit. It's not liking it with the climb. I might need to actually put elevators on here instead of a fixed wing and give it actual elevators. I gotta get this thing back under control. It is definitely fighting me. Definitely, it's fighting me again. Hold on. Let's we'll try tweak scaling that rotor up just a little bit, and I'm gonna go ahead and actually add control surfaces back here. Right, because it's like once the aerodynamic forces kick in is when this thing seems to really start to Oh, that is awful big. Dude, that is like huge. What is the rotor disc on the Defiant? Just out of curiosity. Oh, by the way, the Defiant, dude, it sounded so awesome when it did its 200 knot pass. If you haven't seen this yet, dude, this is...
It's a bit of what we do.
Plus some of its hover capability, it can hover nose down because of the tail rotor.
And you can sort of hang there better than on a traditional.
They can put the tail rotor into like reverse thrust, right? And they can actually hover like up to like 20 degrees or 30 degrees nose down. Like hover in place, which is pretty cool.
Advantage. It's a lot faster than you can go in a traditional helicopter. So it's a level attitude that you maintain throughout, you know, your speed sweep, if you will.
I should have turned the music off and just let it go. Right, but they can also go 100% throttle in reverse thrust on that thing, and like it looks like it's like slamming on the brakes.
The difference between a fundamental like traditional helicopter and the X2 is that prop that's on the back, right? It's taken really like the best part of like a vertical Stovall, like a Harrier or the new Joint Strike Fighter that can, you know, it's this jet that can,
right, and the whole helicopter is fly-by-wire.
Go forward. X2 and the Raider can do that indefinitely, the same as a helicopter, until it's time to go fast, and then it operates better in that regime as well.
Forget everything you know about helicopters. X2 technology combines the best elements of...
Yeah, and it doesn't, I don't think it has a traditional like collective and cyclic either. I think it's just a single joystick. Like, and it's a side stick. Okay, yeah. So yeah, the rotor disc is pretty, it's only the rotor disc is only 2 feet shorter than the entire helicopter. Galen, yeah, it really would. All right, so that boosts us up to 1.5 meter, you know, quote unquote part size from 1.25. So it's not a huge increase, but it should make a difference. And I did set this up where I can actually reverse this, and it does work pretty well. It's like... All right, Galen. Have a good night, buddy. And I promise, I will not come to tuck you in tonight. Because last time, it was kind of...
Awkward.
That's weird. We're hovering without the engines on. All right, Galen. Have a good night, buddy, and thanks again for that sub, buddy. I appreciate it. All right, let's get that on. Ack. Oh, fine control, dumbass. No wonder. Well, the rotor disc actually looks better with the tweak scaled engine a little bit. Doesn't really feel like I'm getting actually any extra thruster out of it though, really. Definitely looks better though. All right, let's go ahead and put this in at 50%. It is struggling with this. And it's like all my movement inputs are getting exaggerated. This thing does not like being at 100% throttle. Or 100% collective. Alright, so we're completely in helicopter mode now. Card, what's up, buddy? Our new helicopter is giving me a hard time. Firefighter Simulator Ignite. I am unfamiliar. Alright, let's really mess it up. And put that pusher motor in 100%. Holy shit, 290 knots! 300 knots! We inadvertently created Airwolf. I took inspiration from the S97 Raider. I'm trying to fly this thing up to the mountains, but it is kind of fighting me. It doesn't really want to climb. And it'll be perfectly fine, and then it'll do that again. I know what the H-56 is. It's the helicopter that was ahead of its time. Alright, hold on, let me pause this here real quick. But yeah, this is, I was looking at the S97 Raider. Right, which is a dual prop helicopter. All right, come on. Just climb. Oh, and we're in the mountains. This is mountain biome. We don't actually have to keep going up. Oh, that was a rough landing. We seem to be close to the limit. This thing really doesn't want to go up in altitude. We might be close to the mass limit. Now, this thing is pretty heavy. This thing weighs over 7 tons, so... Alright, but we can get the full suite of science here. A lot of contracts. All right, check, check, check. Check. Alright, all items are stored back there, and I'm gonna pop him out one more time. Get it a second surface sample. And we'll keep that in the cockpit. As I said, just this thing is quite heavy. As I want it to have decent range. But I may have to... There's another fuel tank right here. Between the two nacelles. I may have to get rid of that one. To reduce some of the mass. Come on, get us up over this hill. I guess technically we are kind of high. Gotta get the screenshot. Yeah, we are, you know, almost 1,400 meters up. Our other helicopter, our KH-1, wouldn't go over about 1,000 meters. It was like a hard limit. Right, but we're a little over 1,400 meters up. Sometimes it's perfectly fine, and other times it goes blah 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 blah. Trying some of the different atmospheric autopilot fly-by-wire modes. Atmospheric fly-by autopilot does not like helicopters very much. Mostly because the atmospheric autopilot doesn't like reaction wheels, and this thing has to be controlled with the reaction wheels. And SAS is almost out of the question. Alright, so now we're flying with just SAS. It's turbine powered, no pistons. And sometimes it's almost, in certain situations, it's more stable without SAS or atmospheric autopilot and just fly it with trim. Right now, there's no flight assistance on at all. It's just me. It's like atmospheric autopilot and SAS both are like confused by this thing. Maybe I just need to fly it more often with no assistance. Yeah, and if I hit the brakes, look how fast this thing slows down. Alright, back to atmospheric autopilot here. Oh, come on. It is so sensitive. That
Was a pain in the ass.
Come on, turn off. It is definitely cool as shit, though. Itchy Beard the Pirate, what's up, man? Not too bad. We made ourselves a new helicopter today, and it's proving to be quite the handful to fly. As neither atmospheric autopilot or SAS really knows what to do with this thing. Right, it seems to be really confused. It's like, do you want to be an airplane or do you want to be a helicopter? But please don't be both. You want to make a rover submarine helicopter? Yeah, you know what they call those, right?
Transformers? More than meets the eye.
All right, let's, Bob is a scientist, right? Yeah. Get up, Bob. Walk over here and reset these. Let's see if there's more science to be had from up here. Oh, come on. You had it. Why'd you let go? Bob, don't be difficult. Bob. You're being difficult now. Bob, you suck. Really, Bob? Oh, come on, dude. Are you... Why is this so difficult for you? Oh my god, Bob. Okay.
Bob? He might be a good scientist, but he's a little discombobulated, uncoordinated.
Okay, let's try this for the science. I've been up here once before with our other helo. So there's a little bit of science to grab. try that again. EV airport, nope. And surface sample, yes. Okay, and recover. Yeah, if you're not aware, the roof of the VAB, once again, is a different biome than the building itself. So, Itchy Beard, what's going on, man? How you doing this evening? What are you up to? Hey, we brought back 22.1 science.
Worth it.
Right, and Valentina got a Research 3 ribbon. And that's at 50% science. Our science is set at 50%. For anybody new. All right, and that completes half of that contract. The other half is to fly to the Tundra. Which is a flight. Trainwreck, what's up, man? Welcome back. Trainwreck, this is the KSC Extended with Jada Mars Harbor from the GNSQ Planet Pack. He also released it as a standalone mod for here. For the stock planets, so to speak. Yeah, so this is our second helicopter. Here's our first helicopter. Right, this one's actually really easy to fly because it doesn't have all the other. There's no shenanigans with this one, right? It's just a helicopter, right? But I also made another one of these that has a Bravo variant, which has big ass pontoons. As I didn't want to. I realized that the mod is called SXT, something extended. It adds a bunch of more airplane parts. The only thing it adds is floats, actually hyperbuoyant floats. So in order to get this thing stable enough in the water, I had to make these giant floats. Right, they're made out of liquid fuel, this liquid fuel tanks, and they're empty. Right, but this actually does float in the water. Yeah, these are courtesy of this cockpit and the helicopter parts are courtesy of Airplane Plus. So, like, for example, making sure we got people in and... Yep, KSC Harbor Water. And this is my least modded install Kerbal. Right, because there's waves and everything out here, the waves would hit and this thing would start moving too much and the tail rotor would hit the water and instantly pop. Train wreck? Well, guess what? You can add another 0 to that, right? At like 350 hours, and you're still going to be learning a lot. In fact, even at 3,500 hours, you're probably still going to be learning a lot. But just like trying to eat a giant pie, right? Or a giant pizza, just one bite at a time, right? It's not, don't try to get to end game. Because end game is whatever you decide it is, right? And don't overbuild too much in terms of like trying to go too complicated too fast. NGB, I think that you can edit scatter. I know you used to be able to do it with the config. I think it actually has an interface now, which is Alt F10. Yeah. Which also brings up contract configurator panel. But I think atmosphere, ocean, yeah, I think I can mess with it. And or I don't think I can change the wave height. I think I can just turn them off. I think you can turn them off because I've done it before. You're a combat engineer from 2008, 2012. Nice. I was in from 92 to 98. So I was in a little bit before you. But see how much this bobs around? I needed the longer pontoons. But Trainwreck, thank you, sir. You know, and it's weird for me to say, oh, yeah, I'm an older Army vet, and you served from 2008 to 2012, and I served a decade earlier.
Thanks, man. Now I really feel old.
All right, I need a beverage, so hold that thought. I'll be right back in just a minute. I'm probably gonna punch the bladder reset button too, but I need something to drink. So be right back. All right, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. And I brought my friend.
Dr. Pepper, elixir of the gods.
Cheers. All right. See, this thing is much more stable. Welcome back, Trainwreck. So yeah, Trainwreck, when it comes to Kerbal, man, go slow. Right? Don't, like, a lot of people, like, with a lot of games, they try to rush to in-game. I wouldn't do that with KSP because there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of stuff to learn about the physics, space travel, all that stuff. I hit the add button so it stops the pre-roll ads, right, and gives it and extends it. Because if I'm gonna walk away for a minute, I always hit the play ads now button. Right, so it makes more sense to have ads when I'm not sitting here doing stuff. But yeah, this thing flies pretty well. Spotchius, what's up, buddy? Not always. Not every now and then. Especially when I'm pushing the limits of something. They may not be so stable, like currently. This one still needs a little bit of tweaks, as the game really doesn't like this configuration for whatever reason. It is really not liking it. Spotchy, it looks good. Yeah, but Trainwreck, have you made a plane that flies backwards yet? Right, but what I mean though is like designing some of the more like advanced stuff. For example, a lot of people jump into making a space shuttle really early, and a space shuttle is arguably one of the most difficult things to engineer. I need to go to a different install. Right, just as an example, because there's a lot going on, right? And you'll also realize that space shuttles are
flippin' horrible.
Right, you'll understand why it's a good idea that NASA stopped flying the space shuttle. Right, because you have an asymmetric vehicle, right? You have an asymmetric center of mass with asymmetric thrust, and to make matters worse, is that asymmetric center of mass is moving. Right, so which also means that your asymmetric center of thrust also has to move, and it's just like, bleh. Right, and of course you're new to the stream, but you'll realize that I do a lot of time just like fine tuning and tweaking things to make things easier to fly. Right, as an example, space planes, or any airplanes really, but let me get to a space plane here. Don't I have space planes in here? Yes. No, not that one. I want the other one. The big one. Yeah, so like even like big space planes, like I can literally set this for re-entry and make it aerodynamically stable, so it'll hold a specific attitude, and I can walk away. I can literally get up and go to the bathroom and come back while this thing is on re-entry, just being perfectly stable. And I try to design most things that way, where they're, super duper stable at all flight regimes, even with shifting center mass, or I try to get the center mass so it doesn't shift. Right, that's why there's a fuel tank up front here, different fuel tanks in the back. For example, this is my Zeus single stage orbit spaceplane. The center of mass doesn't move regardless of fuel load or payload. And that took a while to just fine tune and dial in. So 50-ton payload, no payload, center mass is in the exact same spot, doesn't move. And that's an engineering challenge, to say the least. Hey, Trainwreck, hey, the small steps, man, small steps. Right, I mean, I remember the first time I got to the moon. or went to the moon and landed successfully and was on my way back to Kerbin, right, and doing reentry, and it's like 5 o'clock in the morning because I stayed up all night, right, and I'm like super proud of myself, and I'm on reentry, and I'm like, oh yes, finally, this is so awesome, and realize that
No fucking parachutes.
Spotcha, it depends on what you consider efficient. Right, and where you're sending it. And for me, a single stage, but just so you're aware, rockets can also be SSTOs. Right, it doesn't, you know, an SSTO is not synonymous with spaceplane. Right, you can also have a suborbital spaceplane that isn't an SSTO, or a spaceplane like a space shuttle that is not either, so to speak. But it really depends. Like for me, when I design a single stage to orbit spaceplane, for me it's for low Kerbin orbit, and that's it. Right? You know, I don't worry about like sending them to the moon, or sending them to Lathe, or Lathe maybe. Lathe is a maybe. Sometimes I'll do that. But like sending it, you know, taking a payload to the surface of the moon with a spaceplane, to me is kind of, you'd be better off using a rocket. Because your space plane, once you're in space, you have a lot of dead mass that's worthless. All those wings, the extra engines, all that stuff, right? So it really depends on what you want to do, right? The other side of it, that's why I like it just for low Kerbin orbit. And when I say low Kerbin orbit, I mean all the way up to 250 kilometers, right? All the way up. But it only costs you fuel to put up payload. Right? It only costs you well, obviously the cost of the payload and fuel, because you're bringing the spaceplane back. Right? Completely, 100%. So, for like low Kerbin space, they're perfect. Right? Or even on Lathe, if you have a resupply setup where you can refuel them, then they're worth it for Lathe. Anywhere else?
Rocket.
Trainwreck, you can do that. Just so you're aware, though, if you have two vessels in flight inside of the atmosphere, if they leave what's called physics range, which is about 2.5 to 3 kilometers ish, right? Depends on your PC specs. It changes a little bit. Whichever one you're not in control of, it will delete the other one. Right? And if there's Kerbals on board it, right, so that's a game limitation. It's not your, not your designs. It's not an engineering problem to solve, is basically what I'm saying, right? It's a game engine limitation. Now, if they're in space, right? So, for example, like you want to do a SpaceX-style rocket, which, by the way, you can do. Here to this one. All right, screenshots. Right, so you can actually do you can bring back your first stage. It takes a little bit of finagling. This must leave the whole rocket, like the first stage and the second stage, must leave the atmosphere. Right, and then you can separate them, and you send the upper stage on its way. Right, swap back to this vessel, bring it back. So this is an early development of when I was doing this. This is something for the NASA DART mission. So NASA commissioned a mod to be created for Kerbal Space Program. Yes, that NASA. To coincide with their asteroid redirect program, or DART, right? And it was being launched by a SpaceX rocket. So they did a community challenge. NASA put on a community challenge of creating a SpaceX-style rocket, launching a DART probe, right, and landing the first stage back. So I had to develop this out, test it, landing legs, all that stuff. So some of these screenshots are just testing the launch vehicle. And here we are. Okay, so this is the real launch, right? So we're launching up, launching up, launching up. All right, stage separation, we're in space. So you can see upper stage is burning, and you can leave it burn. Even if you're not in control of the vessel, you just gotta make sure it's pointed in the direction you wanna go, right? And you gotta get back to it before it burns too far, right? And then you switch vessels, as I said, back to the upper stage, and then you bring the upper stage back, or at least get it lined up to start going back. But before it goes in the atmosphere, you got to come back to your upper stage to deal with it, right? And then once this stage is in the atmosphere, you cannot switch back to the other stage, otherwise it'll delete this one, right? So now you got to land it. That's why there's no more screenshots, as I was busy, because this is not easy to do. This takes some practice, right? And even once you actually have a reusable rocket, it's still quite challenging to do. And if you change anything on that rocket or change its payload mass, you got to learn all over again, right? But I did it. We actually smacked the asteroid, and I actually got a shout out by NASA for being the first one to do it, at least within, as part of the competition. And we nailed it, because we nailed it first try, right? I didn't need to make any adjustments. And when you're moving at 3,200 meters per second, this thing, this is like barely in a frame. I had to keep pausing this, right? And and I did a quick save to take the screenshots. Train wreck, not exactly, and it also depends on the vehicle. What I mean is that you have to, like, this one was going beyond, outside of Kerbin's SOI, right? So let's go back here. This was going out past Kerbin's SOI, so I had a pretty long burn time. Right, but you still only have a certain amount of time, depending on what altitude you go up to. And that's the thing too, on the first stage, you don't want it going very fast in terms of orbital velocity or vertical velocity, because it'll take too long to bring back, and or you're going to need too much fuel to bring it back. And you need way more fuel to land it than you think, because Kerbal rocket parts are made out of pig iron and concrete. They're extremely heavy, so you need a decent amount of fuel. And the trick to bringing this back is not necessarily burning retrograde, but burning normal. And what you do is you're basically kind of hovering the rocket as the planet, your landing site, the planet is rotating, so the landing site is coming towards you, right? You don't necessarily fly the rocket back to the landing site. You let the landing site come to you, so to speak, to minimize fuel usage. Because if you actually burn backwards, you're going to miss. You'll overshoot, right? Because the planet's still in rotation underneath you. Once you start playing around with it, you'll understand a little bit more about like what I mean on that. Yeah, it comes down almost straight down, and then you got to learn when to actually burn, and when to, how to adjust your throttle or turn off engines, as you're landing, because your thrust to weight is going to be crazy high, right? That's why, like, the Falcon 9 launches with 9 rockets, but it lands on 1, right? Because your payload's got, your whole upper stage is gone, and 95+% of your fuel is gone, so the rocket is at its lowest mass possible, so you end up with a crazy high thrust to weight ratio. So you're still like supersonic, only like 200 meters off the ground, right? But your vessel's still coming, is still supersonic, right? You pull like 12 G's, slowing the rocket down when you activate the engines. Because your suicide burn, the later you burn, the less fuel you use. Oh, and if you like airplanes, I gotta go over to my sandbox real quick. So chat years ago dubbed this aircraft the plane. And I designed this aircraft originally to teach advanced aerodynamics. I do a lot of, I used, well, I probably not so much anymore, but I used to do a lot of teaching of KSP. You know, from the basics to the advanced stuff. So this was specifically for teaching advanced aerodynamics and how to manipulate or use control surfaces to manipulate flight. Right, and that your center of mass and the center of lift specific, well, your center of mass is dependable. It moves around based on your fuel, where your fuel's at, right, in relation to the mass of everything else. So you can, if you design something well enough, you can get it to where your center of mass doesn't move, like I talked about earlier, right? But you can also, with control surfaces, get your center to lift to move around, right, on purpose, right? And so you can get, you know, if you know the basics of like making an airplane is if your plane is flying that direction, you need your center of mass here and your center of lift behind it, right? That's not always true. All right, so this aircraft has no reaction wheels, none. I have the Rocketology rebalance mod installed that somebody wrote for me, and that removes reaction wheels from all airplane cockpits, because airplanes that don't fly like airplanes if they have reaction wheels. All right, it's a different story with helicopters because you can't really get a collect without using a mod that's specifically designed for flying VTOLs, right? Because you don't have a collective and a cyclic. But most people will tell you that this won't fly, but it will, because based on your angle of attack, that's gonna move, right? And also based on your control surfaces, which you'll notice this actually has leading edge flaps and trailing edge flaps. Right? It also has thrust vectoring engines and a high thrust to weight ratio, so we can do some other stuff. But there's no reaction wheel, so what you're about to see is purely from control surfaces and thrust vectoring. And now you see why chat dubbed this thing the plane. I will say though that like flying it backwards is like balancing on the head of a pin, because drag, it generates a lot more drag going backwards than it does going forward, for obvious reasons. And I lost it. Yep, we're gonna hit. You're low to the ground doing that. But yeah, it is literally taken me years to be able to get decent. This is a very difficult airplane to fly, for obvious reasons. But you'll see here in a second, if I activate all the control surfaces. Right, it's actually perfectly stable. Right, as the with the flaps down and the leading edge flaps, it moves the center of lift backwards behind the center of mass. And so you end up with a stable airplane. One other tip you may not know yet, but if you look over here in the lower left at your pitch, yaw, and roll indicators, if you notice these are turquoise at the moment, and if I hit caps lock, now they're orange. By default, they're usually orange. Right? If you hit caps lock, they'll turn turquoise, and it gives you fine control. Right? So you can do much smaller movements like this, you know, versus like this. It also works with RCS. Right, so it cuts your RCS thrust by like 80%. So for like when you get to the point of like doing docking and rendezvous, and by the way, dock it with the first time you dock two vessels together in orbit. Right, once you've done that, so once you've gone to the moon and you've come back safely to Kerbin, right, and then once you figure out how to do rendezvous and then docking, there's nowhere you cannot go in the solar system. And yeah, I have made lots and lots of airplanes. Have I mentioned that I have made lots of airplanes? I'm unfamiliar with Vaccine TV. I do not know who that is. Nasmar, I've made one or two airplanes, yeah. Oh, he did? He rated me? Really? Man, I feel bad now. I gotta look through my history here, because... Oh, I remember. Okay, now I remember. Yep, now I remember. I remember you now coming in with him. Yeah, okay. I remember now. It just, you know, the gray matter once in a while. You know, the little Kerbal that's in there running on the treadmill. You know, he gets out of breath every now and then, and it takes a moment to catch up. Now I remember. Yeah, now I remember him, and I remember you now as well. Yeah, the good thing about like the Kerbal community at large is extremely friendly and more than willing to help everybody out. Right, from the streamers, you know, that do it regularly to, just, you know, people, you know, in the forums, Discord, whatever it is. KSP probably has one of the best gaming communities around. All right, let's do some space stuff. We haven't been to space yet today. All right, so we have... We could do our first lunar flyby. So in this career, we have not yet flown by the moon. All right, Trainwreck, take it easy, buddy. Thanks for dropping back in, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, Trainwreck, if you're not in my Discord already, here's the link. Right, I actually have there's a section of my Discord that's literally a KSP help desk. So if you're stuck on something or you need advice on how to do something, myself or anybody in my community will answer the question. Right, it is literally called KSP help desk. All right. Let's knock out some of these smaller contracts actually first. All right, so we have a test, the TR-1L 25-inch ruggedized heavy-duty wheel. Is that the one that's on our rover? No, we have the vehicular wheel. They want us to test the heavy-duty. Why didn't I go with the heavy-duty on these? What about our other, the KV-1? Is also rocking the ruggedized vehicular wheel and not the heavy-duty wheel. Interesting. Well, let's rectify that. We'll make this one... We're going to convert this one over for the ruggedized heavy-duty. Okay, these mount sideways for whatever reason. Oh, that's why, because I need to use the other frame. I don't have to have these on the vehicle. I could, well, that's gonna be problematic. Because that one doesn't have a narrow version. Well, it's gonna look like a hot rod. I can probably get away with it being like that. Alright, no steering on that. And no motor on that. Alright, build the engineer. Take it out. I know it's only a test. Now it's more, I know. But I just feel silly at sticking a wheel on top of anything that we decide to throw out there for a test. Why isn't that working? We're at the launch site. Is it because we're at the runway? We actually have to drive over to the actual launch pad? Damn, Bill. I'm sure I have at some point too. Okay, we're probably getting a little silly at this point. Oh, your favorite Super Jeb, yeah. Man, I almost forgot about Super Jeb. Holy crap. Why isn't this registering as being at the launch site? I mean, you don't get any closer to the launch site than that. Yeah, it is not registering as being here. Let's try this. Yeah, dude, MGB, dude, it has been a long time since we've done Super Jeb. Fine, we'll do it the other way. Oh, horizontal test pad, there it is. Yeah, the first time I did Super Jeb MGB, dude, that was so flippin' funny, man. Oh my god. Right, especially as we were tuning to figure out how what the actual the game limitations are with making a Super Kerbal. All right, contract complete. Interesting. It wouldn't work on that vehicle. All right, well, it worked now. Test complete. Contract complete. Right, before we figured out that we had to give him more mass, that we had to make him weigh like 100 tons, because we didn't have any mass, and he'd move at like 3,000 meters per second, and slam him into a building, and he'd bounce it off like a pinball. Oh, but at 3,000 meters a second, he wouldn't go through the buildings. He didn't have enough mass, so he'd bounce off. Right, or he'd just phase through, depending on how the physics tick worked. All right, what's next? Yeah, or when I was like tuning the jump and I pressed jump and he jumped 20 kilometers straight up. I was like, okay, we're gonna need to tune that down just a little bit. Right? You press jump and it's like instant re-entry heating, right? As you know, as it goes straight up 20 kilometers. Right? Or you try to land and you just dum dum dum, you know, tumbling over the ground, and then just he goes to a cloud of dust, right? Because the physics just breaks, or he spaghettifies. We spaghettified him a lot. All right, so we need to orbit a probe and bring it back, and like bring it back. Anything else though that is? I have like 4 contracts that are all about just doing a lunar flyby, but I'm not ready to do those just yet. All right, but we need to let's go ahead and do an orbital probe and then bring it back. But I think we can actually hold on. I think we also need to get some local science from as well. Yeah, we need to do a material study in high space, another material study in low space. That's 2 material studies. Yeah, collect science. We also need to do the visual camera observation, which we have not yet done. In fact, we haven't even put that on anything yet. All right, so let's. Don't we already have a suborbital reentry probe? Yeah, the science return unit. Except different launch vehicle. We'll do I think we're ready for starting maybe thinking about an actual family of launch vehicles. Yeah, we do. We have this guy. All right, so if we do that, because we need both high space and low space, which means we need 2 material studies. Right, or radio, you know, so our science juniors, right? So if we go with a pair of radio mount science juniors. Right, we'll just basically ditch, we'll pull the science out, and these will just get burned up on re-entry. But we'll be able to pull it in and make it nice and compact. And once again, I don't mind these clipping in because this is just a structural piece. Keep it all nice and tight. All right, so the other thing that we need is they're looking for a camera that is not here. What is it? Visual camera observation. haven't unlocked it yet, so why do we have a contract for it? Alright, it's not one of these. These are just radio mount cameras. It's a handheld, like, video camera for Kerbals that goes in their inventory. We have a couple of, like, booster cams. But we don't have, like, a observational cam. Right, we don't have that unlocked yet. Let me save that. There are some cameras in here somewhere. As an experiment. Yeah. They're not... Yeah, here they are. Orbital telescopes. Yeah, we don't unlock those until up here until advanced exploration, so why do we have a contract for this now? Log visual observations. These aren't science experiments. These other cameras that we've unlocked so far, they're not science experiments. So, what is... Now, see, it provides no science, but useful for piloting. And this camera, if you have a raster prop monitor and the IVAs, you can actually, in the MFDs, you can actually look at through these cameras depending on what you can cycle through them. Okay, so and that's what this isn't a test contract though. It's an actual science experiment contract. Where'd it go? Yeah, see, low in space, visual camera observation. It's for an orbital study. But visual camera observation is not possible. Right, as we don't have that yet, and like it'll be a while before we can even get to that. I mean, I'm tempted to put one of the cameras that we do have on the probe just for, but I already know that these don't give science. Right, they're under utility. They don't give science. I'm kind of
I'm lost.
Well, minus whatever it is that they're looking for there, because I mean I can put a booster cam on there, but even in the description it says provides no science. Now this one's a black and white camera. Now this is an aerodynamic camera. It's the same as this, just this one's only black and white. Well, I'll put a little camera on it and we'll see, I guess. Alright, so we're gonna call that SRU-1. Want to see what other options it had. And we do have a launch vehicle, orbital rocket 2. Oh, is that going to fit in the fairing, or am I going to have to go long ways with these? I think these might be too wide in this configuration. If I rotate them around that way. Oh, they do clip. This is gonna go flying. Well, shit on a biscuit. So I just want to clip these completely in on each other, which I'm trying to avoid doing. And they're already slightly clipped, but you can't tell, right? Just assume they're, you know, sharing a back wall. Alright, well, I did unlock aerodynamics. Did that give me a 1.875 meter fairing? No, it did not ski. It did not ski. Yeah, I know I could use the Airstream and make it bigger, but... it did not ski. Where are 1.875 meter fairings and rocket parts? Aerodynamics. We actually get 2.5 meter and 1.875 meter. And I do have some 1.875 meter fuel tanks. We almost have 90 science. Almost.
Almost.
Like famous last words. Alright, Kerbin science it is. Which means...
new airplane.
Because I did unlock aerodynamics and we have a whole new suite of parts that we can now utilize. Right, fly further, higher, faster. We need to design an airliner anyway, as well. I'm gonna design a cargo variant first, I guess. One second. Okay, there's the size 2. Crew cabin is also under aerodynamics. We need 12 science. Yeah, cargo ramp, all this stuff. Okay. We really need 12. So we need to unlock aerodynamics. Alright, we need 12 science. We haven't hit up the other sites, really. Alright, Jeb, pop over to the island runway. And I unlocked all these other ones, too, that I don't know where they are. Alright, let's try it. Let's go to the island airfield and see what we can get. There's a bunch of air bases that I was able to, or just basically runways with fuel supply that I was able to unlock at no cost. Yep, so there's a little bit. There's 3.8. I can also get that again. what can you do for me? EV airport? Nope, nothing. Take a surface sample? Yes. Alright, let's recover that. We also have not gotten science from our altimetry scan or our visual / biome scan, because I was waiting until they got 100%. Alright, there's 8.3. Let's warp a day. And let's see where this is. 98.6%. And 78.1. Alright, let's go to our second scan set. The scan multi. It's close enough that it's going to be almost 100% of the science. Alright, so this satellite is in orbit. Analyze data. Oh, it's 100%. It's all of it. And it's 11.3 science.
Sweet.
This biome data is truly astounding. You just hope that it's crumb resistant. As you remember eating a particularly messy box of snacks the day that the sensor was installed. Alright, and transmit home. Hopefully we have enough battery to transmit that. Yep, just. Sweet. Alright, where's our other one at? I analyze its data. How much does it have? How much science would it give us? Not all of it. Alright, so we'll let it keep going. Alright, but that's the science we need to unlock aerodynamics. Oh, I bet these parts are going to be expensive. Not what I want it. I want to go in. Not as bad as I thought. 213 grand, but I'm not going to buy everything. I'm only going to buy what we need. Now that we have those fairings, we can do a 1.8, an early-ish. Ooh, do we have enough? No, we don't have it. We are going to need heavy rocketry to do that. Otherwise, it's going to look really cheesy. Because even the LT-45 swivel is considered heavy rocketry. Let's take a look anyway. Because that would knock out several contracts at once. I know, I'm kind of all over the place tonight, right? Alright, let's bust this guy back out. I do like the other configuration better. Alright, decoupler. I'll strut that to root. A handy dandy adapter. Really wish there was a way to deactivate this from the tree over here, but because it pops its panels. Yeah, see if I put its shroud on. The fix for that is just put it at the top of the staging tree, and then you don't have to worry about these panels popping off, because they will. I guess I don't really have to have the shroud on, but right now my patented octagonal strut probe core trick. Right, battery. All right, once again, the reason I do this is because this is a size 0 node, and this is a size 1. I don't want this as part of the structure, right? So there's no like structural integrity on this part because it's radially attached to this, and then I just gizmo it into place. And it's not actually part of the launch vehicle. I mean, it's a part of the launch vehicle, but it's not a stressed member of the launch vehicle. Alright, and center it, make sure it's centered in both directions, because you're still going to be using this for guidance. Alright, now I need to bring this down so it covers that node up. Because this doesn't have a bottom node, because that bottom node is connected to that octag. And then... oh, that's a problem. Yeah, do it the other way, dummy. Octag needs to go up further. And you move this back down. And it's to create space between the nodes so it doesn't attach to that little node on the bottom. Even though I guess I could have just attached this to that node. Either way, it works. All right, and now we can turn this back on, and Bob's your uncle. Alright, so this one doesn't need the expanded fairing. Oh yeah, it does. It is clipping in. Okay. Thought I'd be able to use the straight fairing, but nope. It's clipping in a little bit. Alright, let's get the expanded one. I like fixed fairings. And now we got plenty of room in there. I like having pre-built launch vehicles, right? And just kind of build out a family of them, right? Based on what payload you need to launch, instead of building a new rocket for every payload. But that generally comes later on when you've unlocked more parts, and you're not going to keep unlocking parts that force you to rebuild a rocket over from scratch, which is kind of where we're at now. These are the only 1.875 meter fuel tanks I have, other than the taper one that but it goes from 1.875 to 1.25, and that's problematic. Oh, I have these two. I guess these are even smaller. And I have the hemispherical tank. But our payload doesn't actually weigh that much. If I open this back up. Yeah, 1.7 tons. So this launch vehicle is going to overperform. But I don't really have that great of engines unlocked yet either. Right, we don't have a heavy rocketry unlocked. In fact, the only flippin' engine that's available to me for this is the damn Pug. And to even use it, I'm gonna need to use a engine plate. Where's it? Where's the engine plate? Oh, decoupling, dumbass. It has so much Delta V. And these engines are really not set up. For this is their compact version. They have too many balls. I don't think I've ever used the Pug in a multi format before. I mean, the other option is the Spacely. It's got a vacuum ISP of 255 and actually has a gimbal, which the Pug does not. The Pug, though, is 330 in a vacuum. Not like I really need this to be efficient anyway, but... It's almost 1,000 meters. Look at that. So that's 1,963 meters per second. That's 2,600. Also because of the mass difference. This weighs 0.2 tons. The Spacely, well, actually, the Spacely even weighs even less. And 0.53 is pretty low thrust to weight. .78 would be better. Zedric, what's up, man? What rocket should you make? The one that goes up. The rocket that actually launches successfully. Oh, it looks so chintzy. We actually may need to use this for a few missions, so... I'm gonna give it the full court press. All right, only need those in three-way. You play SFS? What do you mean? You're gonna have to... My brain isn't functioning all that well tonight. Yeah, and just see where the check scene command is for, in case I'm doing this, and then I start showing something I'm doing in the game, and you can't see it, and sometimes I forget to check OBS to see to make sure I'm on the right scene, especially when I'm switching back and forth. So that command is there to get my attention, to let you know that you can't see what I'm doing. Right, check scene. Zedric, well, what of those have you not done before? You have not done any of them. Well, a space shuttle is arguably one of the most difficult things to engineer in Kerbal space programs, but I don't know what your experience level is. Because a space shuttle has it's an asymmetric launch vehicle with asymmetric thrust and asymmetric moving center of mass that you have to compensate for the thrust. And getting all that balanced out is quite the challenge. But it's not one you're going to slap together in like 5 minutes. It's like that's something you're going to create over days. Right? So are you looking for something that you can do tonight? Or are you looking for the project for the rest of the month? go. Now we're lined up. All right, so short-term project or long-term project, I guess is the better way to put it. And a Falcon 9 style rocket that you actually fly back and land also takes a decent amount of understanding of the game's physics. And can be quite the challenge, but then that's also not something you're going to, especially if you're doing robotic landing legs, it's not something you're going to be doing tonight. That's another longer term project. So, I guess, as I said, short-term project or long-term project? Well, it depends on how detailed you want to get with the Saturn V. Right, if you're doing just doing the launch vehicle and just kind of carbalizing it a little bit, it can be kind of easy. But you can also get extremely detailed with it, and especially if you're doing a lander as well, like the full Monty, the full court press. None of those are exactly easy. All right, so that'll give us RCS on the upper stage. Oh, comms, before I forget. And battery. Oh, I know I got battery, right? But I forgot to... set the priority on the battery. Oh, one other thing, too. Crap. I gotta open this back up again. This doesn't generate power. Hey, what's up with that? What's up with this? This doesn't have a paw. It's like part action window is like bugged the hell out. Zedric, we're doing a we're combining a whole bunch of contracts together, right? So I need to launch a probe into space and then bring it safely back. But I also have other contracts to get science in space near Kerbin, and then other contracts for getting science in high space over Kerbin, right? Like high orbit science. So I'm gonna do it all in one vehicle, so that way I can make a whole bunch of money. You know, completing a whole bunch of contracts by doing one launch. Right, so it's a combo. Right, let's call it the Happy Meal combo. Right, now I gotta get back into the service module because I forgot to change. Hey, how come you're not giving me... How come I'm not getting any part action windows on anything, actually? Shit, on a biscuit. I can't save. If I save, whatever error this is may perpetuate, which is what killed our other career, is something a little bit different. But let me double check this. Or for whatever reason, it was Tough X. Which makes no sense, but hey. Yeah, we have no part action windows. That's a problem. So we're gonna lose that probe rebuild. Alright, exit and back in. It's getting late. I'm getting sleepy. There we go. Now I have this. It's this part messing it up. And now I don't have part action windows again. Mark Roy, what's going on, man? How you doing tonight? We're just running into a Kerbal error here. And if I have to restart the game, I might likely call it a night, because my butt be getting sleepy. Okay, so now we have our part action window, right? So why is it when I bust out the solar panels? Grab this one, yeah. What's going on here with this? And now I don't have any part action window on anything. Aw, man. Yeah, Kerbal needs a relaunch. Assuming it's gonna happen over here too. Alright, part action windows are working everywhere. Alright, that one works with the fuel cell. But as soon as I right click on a solar panel, doesn't matter which one it is. As soon as I right click on a solar panel, I lose the ability for a part action window. Yep, no part action window. And anytime you run into a little weird error like that, do not save. Do not save the craft at all. Like, as you save that craft, you may screw your entire save over. Still nothing. So we actually have to leave the editor. Zedric, are you playing the re-release of whatever the hell it's called? Surviving Mars? Natswar, let me take a look. Try it again here. That's smart. Thanks for reminding me. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, even that isn't work. It doesn't work. There's something about anything with a solar panel. If I right-click it, it goes. And I don't have any mods dealing with any of that that change any of this. And now I can't right-click anything and have it give me anything. All right, clear him. And still no right click, no part action windows. And whatever this is. Let's see what the console says when I try to do it. Our configurator seems to be having an issue. Alright, what if I lock that open? Is it only electrical parts that are doing it? Or specifically solar panels? And batteries, non-issue. Oh, damn, look at that. Yeah, it just went bonkers. And it's still going. Oh, middle mouse button info works. But yeah, everything else, look at this. It just went.
I shat myself.
That's what it just did. Alright, if I close that, I bet this goes away. Oh, I can't even do it. Yep, there it is, because, yeah, we're completely aired out. Alright, well. That's a problem. Hopefully, a Kerbal relaunch will make that work. But that's going to have to wait for another day. As I am not up for dealing with that anymore this evening. As it's almost 11 o'clock at night. And I've been awake since 6 a.m. And my dog is definitely going to be waking me up again tomorrow between 6 and 6:30 in the morning. To say,
let's go to the park. Move your ass.
So we're going to call it a day here. Thank you, Centurion, for coming and hanging out, man. I know I said I wasn't going to stream today. This was kind of impromptu. Tomorrow we're going to be doing, we're going to be checking out Re-Entry, a spaceflight simulator. So that is our plan for tomorrow for Veterans Day. You were looking for me anyway? Well, only because I wanted to mess around with that helicopter. I figured, all right, if I'm gonna mess around with Kerbal, I might as well stream it, right? Scientic, what's up, buddy? 9 a.m. there, so you're almost 12 hours off from me. almost. All right, so all the new people, thank you guys for hitting that follow button. Much appreciated. By the way, if you want to see this save from the beginning, I have been putting up each of the episodes each evening on YouTube. So you can hit my YouTube channel right there and subscribe over there and leave a comment, you know, the usual YouTube shit. I got to grow out the YouTube channel, and if I can get a few more subscribers over there, I'll do a couple of dedicated YouTube videos of tutorials, like how to install mods, right? From how to make a clean install first of Kerbal Space Program, and then how to install mods. Always start with a clean install before installing mods. It'll save you so many problems. Right, to aircraft, simple aircraft tutorials, which will probably have to be a series of videos going from anatomy of an airplane all the way up to advanced aerodynamics. Right, and of course, there's also a Discord, and here is all the other social bits. Scientific, I'm not sure. I don't stream in the evening all of that often. I try to at least once or twice a week stream in the evening, because not everybody, can watch the live stream during the day. So I try to do it once or twice a week at least. All right, but with that being said, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, Rocketeers all, have a good night, everybody. And if for any Marines out there, happy birthday for to the Marine Corps. And tomorrow is Veterans Day. Oh shit, I gotta pull out Army stuff.
Well, shit.
Another thing to add to my to-do list for tomorrow, right? Yeah, every Veterans Day, I gotta pull out the berets and all that stuff. All right, but you guys have a great morning, great night, great afternoon, great whatever it is, where it may be. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for some re-entry space flight simulator. Until then,
have a good night. And thank you again.